It's that time of year again when kids are heading back to school. For many, it's an exciting time reuniting with old friends, but for others, the return to school can be hell. Because walking those halls of school can be filled with ridicule and relentless bullying. But thankfully in the horror genre, the bullies often get what they deserve. In the horror genre, we have the catharsis of following those bullied teens as they rise up and fight back against those bullies in beautiful, brutal ways. In honor of back to school season, let's dive into some of the best horror movies featuring bullied teens who get their sweet, sweet revenge. Massacre at Central High. When a new student realizes that his new California school is ruled by a group of relentless bullies, he decides to seek action. Unfortunately, he gets physically maimed in the process, and he goes on a rampage of revenge, picking off the bullies one by one. This exploitation film is framed like a teen slasher. It features very violent, over-the-top moments that are also simultaneously campy and funny. I don't know if all of those moments were intended to be campy, but it just adds to the charm of this one. We have an anti-hero in this who starts off as a victim and essentially morphs into kind of the villain in this story. It's interesting to note that this movie inspired the black comedy Heathers, and when you're watching you can see that because we have the comparisons of the lead character who's doing all the revenge killings, very similar to JD in Heathers, and there's also exact moments and plot points that were taken from this movie and used in Heathers, so it's really cool that this movie inspired that. I think that a lot of the movie is hokey at times and the acting can be questionable, but it has some really powerful messages and social commentary that are still relevant today. Another interesting thing about this is there's no real adults featured throughout this story. It's mostly these high school students, and we're seeing how they deal with hierarchies, the social hierarchies in high school, and how kids respond to power and authority. And it's very similar in themes of Lord of the Flies, where we get to see how these kids react when they have total power. It's a really fascinating watch that you can check out on Tubi. Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. Mary Lou is a promiscuous high school student who is crowned the prom queen in 1950s, but unfortunately suffers a brutal death at a prank gone wrong. Years later, another teen unearths her crown and cape and unleashes her spirit on the school. Honestly, good for her, because prank gone wrong. This man set her on fire. I don't think that's a prank gone wrong, that was murder. Mary Lou is such a fun villain because she's sexy, she's bitchy, she's cunty, she's everything that you want in a female villain. And she doesn't care who she takes out in the process. This one feels like a mashup of Carrie and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Have these really dreamy, surreal dreams that are filled with horrifying moments. And the movie has some fantastic practical effects throughout, including a blackboard whirlpool scene that was super cool to see, and also a burning corpse that comes out of the body of another student. Like, the stuff that happens in this movie is very impressive. I think this one is way better than Prom Night 1. This one is available on Tubi. Ma is just a lonely middle-aged woman who decides to befriend a group of teenagers and invites them back to her house to party. She provides them with alcohol because of course they're underage, and all is well at first, but soon Ma becomes a little too attached to these teenagers, and as soon as they start pulling away from her, she starts reacting in insane ways. What's even more interesting is that Ma has a dark history with the children's parents. Octavia Spencer brings this movie to life. It's so ridiculous in concept, but it feels like a throwback to horror movies of the 80s. We have the Ma character who is just unhinged. She's also equally likable because Octavia Spencer is likable. It's interesting that she experienced this horrific event in her childhood that's kind of prompting her to reach out to these kids, but there's also a realness to her character because I feel like there are adults who kind of cling on to that childhood innocence. They want to be back in high school, and because her character didn't have a good experience in high school, she's kind of reliving it through these kids. Of course, things get insane towards the end. She starts doing horrible things to these kids, and it's fun to watch. This one is available to stream on Peacock.
You think you're done with the past, but the past is not done with you.
In The Gift, a couple played by Rebecca Hall and Jason Bateman encounter a friend from the husband's past named Gordo. They invite Gordo back into their lives, and soon dark and sinister secrets arise from their past. This movie is very dark and disturbing. There is a very dark and disturbing backstory between Gordo and Jason Bateman's character, something that happens between the two when they were teenagers, and essentially Jason Bateman's character bullied Gordo and ruined his life. So Gordo is back to get his revenge. So he's chiseling away at his relationship with his wife in very unsettling ways. And it leads up to a very shocking and disturbing ending that you won't be able to get out of your head. Performances are fantastic throughout. Jason Bateman is usually more of a comedic character, but in this he's more serious and sinister, and he's playing the bully. I feel like he's very good at playing an asshole. Just watching his interactions with Gordo, there's just so much suspense and dread building in the air, and you're just waiting for it all to fall in place. This one is available to stream on Hulu.
For the students aboard, it's going to be the one party to end them all.
In Terror Train, a hazing incident goes wrong and sends the victim into an institution. Of course, everyone involved kind of brushes the incident aside and goes on with their lives happily, until years later, on graduation, they have a graduation costume party on a train. The victim has come back to seek his revenge. I love this one because it's super atmospheric and fun. There is so much suspense because of the costume element where you don't know who's who behind the mask. So it's essentially a whodunit slasher on a train. And the train element also increases the claustrophobia feeling, the feeling that you can't escape. So watching these people get picked off one by one in really fun ways. In cool costume design, I love the look of the killer throughout the movie. Honestly, these kids got what they had coming to them because the prank that they pulled is just awful. Like, these pranks in all of these movies are not just simple pranks. They are to the extreme level that you can understand why they cause people to go insane. This one is available to stream on Tubi. Tamara is a bullied teen who's into witchcraft and weird stuff, and one day she is pranked by her peers and it goes wrong and she dies. Are we seeing a pattern here? She eventually comes back from the dead, and this time she's a sexy siren and she's on a rampage of revenge. This one is very early 2000s. It's very cheesy and it's filled with cliches and tropes and caricatures of the time, but there's something so charming about it because of that. I think that Jenna Dewan is a great female villain, but you have to kind of suspend your disbelief that she's like this ugly duckling that no one would like at school because she's gorgeous. It's fun to see her come back from the dead and use her sexiness to kind of kill off everybody who wronged her. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, am I right? You can stream this one on Tubi. The Final follows a group of misfit kids who are relentlessly bullied by their peers, and they come up with a plan to kidnap their tormentors and torture them. This was a part of After Dark Horror Fest 8 Films to Die For, so it has a special place in my heart for that reason. The film came out in the torture porn era that came after Saw and Hostel, so it's kind of playing on those elements where it's filled with scenes of these kids torturing others. I think for a torture film though, it is very timid and lacking in the gore and violence, and it's kind of a little slow, but there are some fun moments, and there's even a fun homage to Audition in this, where we have one character who's literally dressed up like the character in Audition, and she's putting pins into a bully like that whole scene, that infamous scene in Audition. So I really liked that. It's interesting because we see the bullied kind of become the bullies, and you don't really know who to root for here, but I think they were trying to get across the message that there's evil within all of us. If you're pushed to the brink, that you will turn to this kind of vengeance. Our problems with this movie, obviously it's very dark and it's a downer, but it fits the bill. This one is also available on Tubi. In Devil's Diary, 2 outcast girls discover a diary belonging to the devil. One of them realizes that whatever you write in this diary will come true. So she starts using it to kill off her bullies, and chaos soon ensues. This one was a Lifetime made-for-TV movie that was filmed in Canada. It feels very Canadian. It stars Degrassi stars like Miriam McDonald, who played Emma, the other girl who played one of the bullies in Degrassi, as the popular girls, and they're the stereotypical cheerleader, mean girls. And a lot of the characters in this are very characters. They're over the top, exaggerated. There's ridiculous dialogue, but I think that it's really fun and silly and entertaining. Yes, it is melodramatic and over the top, but it's just an easy watch, and it's perfect for the spooky season. It also stars Alex Johnson, who you might remember from another Canadian production, Instant Star, and So Weird, and Final Destination 3. I love her, and she really does carry this movie. She is just so believable, so engaging and charismatic that you want to see her succeed, and I liked the friendship that she had with her other outcast friend. This story just goes to ridiculous levels, but I think if you go into it knowing that, you will have a blast with this one. This one is available to stream on Tubi. Unfriended centers on a group of high school friends who are Skyping one evening when a spirit of a girl who committed suicide a year prior joins the chat and starts terrorizing them. This is a screen life horror film, so it takes place entirely on the desktop, and I think it captures the desktop horror very well. I think this is one of the few to do it right. It features characters who are fitting those stereotypical tropes of popular kids. They're kind of annoying at times, but I think there's a unique supernatural mystery at its core, and I love how they brought the horror to a modern digital setting. This feels like it's capturing teens today and how they're interacting with each other, and it highlights the dangers of cyberbullying and social media, and it's just fun watching this ghost kill off all these kids because they're awful. This one is available to stream on Netflix.
If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie.
Carrie is a teenage girl who is very sheltered and very bullied by her peers. She soon discovers that she has telekinetic powers, and she uses those powers to get revenge on her bullies on prom night. This Brian De Palma directed horror based on the Stephen King novel of the same name is gorgeously shot. It's filled with so much surreal and dreamy sequences. It has a beautiful soundtrack and score, and Sissy Spacek is fantastic as Carrie. You really just empathize with her and you understand what she's going through, and you're rooting for her to kill these kids by the end of the movie. And the way that the scenes of horror are shot, it's just breathtaking. This is the epitome of the teen revenge slasher or teen revenge horror of the time. This is the number one. I think that many other teen revenge horror movies have tried to replicate this, as you see in movies like on this list, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, Initiation of Sarah, The Spell. They're all kind of taking elements of this story and spinning it, because this is just a timeless tale, unfortunately. Kids are bullied every single day, and often nothing is done about it, and nothing really can be done about it. So you understand when these characters go to the lengths they do to get peace of mind. It might be a little violent, and I'm not recommending any of the violence I discussed in this video, but you can watch these movies for a little bit of catharsis and therapy. And there you have it. Those are my recommendations for horror movies centered on bullied kids who get their sweet revenge. I know that this is a huge subgenre with so many other movies. There's Slaughter High, 976, Evil, so many that I didn't even get to in this, but just know it's endless. Drop your favorite in this subgenre in the comments down below. Let me know if any of the movies on my list are your favorites. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time. Bye.